Kenya.
Under the sweltering midday heat in Nairobi, one of Kenya's most ambitious infrastructure projects goes on. The sounds of the workmen competing with the hustle and bustle of the Kenyan capital. Once complete, the Nairobi Expressway will cut travel times across the city by several hours, according to the Kenya National Highway Authority, KENHA. But there is a problem. In its wake, the proposed highway is leaving a trail of environmental destruction and bare land, despite a growing chorus of protests and opposition from Kenyans and environmental activists alike. Despite a court petition, the bulldozers continue their roar down the busy highway.
Our greatest concern is that there is an ongoing petition in court at the National Environment Tribunal, and of course, if this particular construction is challenged in court, the law requires that the construction stops until the case is heard. But we are not seeing that happening. What we are seeing is an ongoing construction, tree felling.
The Kenyan government seemed to have been jolted to some action 2 weeks ago, following yet another demonstration by environmental activists and Nairobi city dwellers. This 100-year-old iconic fig tree was spared the chop. The builders of the highway will have to rethink the design at this point. That should have offered some temporary sigh of relief, but this seems to be a race against time on two fronts. One, to beat the December 2022 deadline to complete the project just in time for President Uhuru Kenyatta's retirement, making it a legacy project of sorts for him. And two, saving Kenya's green spaces along where the highway will cut through. Another space under threat, Uhuru Park, a recreational park in the middle of the city, saved from the jaws of extinction in the 90s by Kenya's environmentalist and Nobel Peace Laureate Professor Wangari Maathai.
We are worried because this park, since upon its gazettement, it was 21.9 acres, but it keeps on shrinking. So any effort even to a height of 1 acre, we are standing to protest. This Uhuru Park should not be touched. And what we are telling the government is, let us consider alternatives. Let us consider alternatives, because it's not only this space. And once the once Uhuru Park and Freedom Corner is touched, it sets a precedent. What stops the government from encroaching on any other green space?
Now, Kenyans have loudly protested against this 27-kilometer highway that will cut through the city of Nairobi. They argue that it is too expensive. It will cost the Kenyan taxpayer at least $600 million. Apart from that, they say the environmental destruction that it is leaving on its way is unnecessary. The government, however, says this is a necessary evil that will decongest the city. Indeed, tree stumps line stretches of where the intended expressway will cut through, and Kenyans, it now emerges, will have to pay a toll to use the road in order to repay another Chinese debt to Kenya. KENHA says apart from cutting travel time, it will create jobs and help reduce losses attributed to traffic jams. Environmentalists are not convinced.
We are not anti-developers. We are not against development, but we want a kind of development that is inclusive and a kind of development that is sustainable. I'll give you a good example. Right now in the city, it's almost impossible for anyone to even cycle. So if you look at the kind of priorities that we are giving to our spaces right now, there should be something that is people-friendly, something that is also being mindful of our environment and our planet, because we do not need to even, cut down trees to put up roads.
Development must take cognizance of the vital role of the environment. It must take into cognizance the laws that are existing that govern any development. It must take in place the legislative framework that is there.
For now, Mathuti, who grew up watching Professor Maathai fight to save Uhuru Park and several forests in Kenya from extinction, and Atika, who leads the Greenbelt movement, which the Nobel laureate founded in the 80s, plant several trees at the Nairobi Freedom Corner, where the struggle to save Kenya's shrinking liberties in the 90s started, and where this time the struggle to save the East African nation's green spaces and push for accountability continues. Sarah Kimani, SABC News, Kenya.